In the book, the title of this chapter is actually Flourish and Blots, which we come to find out is, we already know, is the store where you can get your ye old magical books. It is a bookstore. However, our loving title is Tuck Your Shirt in, Scruffy. So, we got some new characters. I don't know how new, but so we officially get to meet Lucius Malfoy, like officially, where he is a real character and you get to see his character, like, who he is, down to the deep depths of his very blonde roots.
And where Draco gets it from.
Yeah, because the apple does not fall far from the tree. I think it's more like not if the tree has anything to say about it. But Borgin, we meet a gentleman named Borgin. What's his name?
I don't know. I just wrote down Mr. Borgin. I don't know that we ever learn his first name. Now, I didn't go so far as to Google or wiki it, but...
Yeah, I didn't either. It's okay. He is the owner of a shop, which we'll talk about in a moment. Then we meet an interesting feller named Gilderoy Lockhart, which we mentioned 2 weeks ago, if you were with us. And we meet this guy named Gilderoy Lockhart, which we will discuss more. Let's just call him Charming. And then we also meet an aged witch who was apparently holding what looked to be like fingernails or something. Yeah. Not a very important character, just a passing ship. And then the Daily Prophet reporter, who Ron has a bit of a run-in with at the bookstore. A goblin, because again, they go to the bank, and the Flourish and Blots assistant, who is there, obviously, at Flourish and Blots. Did I miss anybody?
So we also meet Mr. and Mrs. Granger.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Mrs. Granger.
I don't know if we get their first names ever either. But again, I didn't Google or wiki it. And I couldn't remember. I know that we had mentions before of Charlie Weasley, though we still haven't met him. But had we had mentions before of Bill Weasley?
I feel. Did we talk about the Weasley family? I feel like we talked about them.
Maybe we talked about the whole family
session. But, if you didn't pay attention or if you weren't part of that episode, we do get information about Bill and Charlie Weasley.
Yeah, we get a little more insight into the two oldest Weasley brothers.
A little more information,
Yeah.
So, we just left off last time with Ron being thoroughly embarrassed by Harry. Because Harry told Ron that he thought that the Burrow was the best house ever. And, of course, Ron hits him to the depths of his little soul and is totally embarrassed by that. And we come to find out that Harry gets to spend an entire week at the Burrow, which... I adore for him so very much. The mirrors talk, which is where our title comes from, because the mirror's yelling at you to clean yourself up. The ghoul howls, the ghoul hits the pipes, tries to make noises and be a ghoul. Explosions come from Fred and George's room. And the best part of all, Molly is fussing over Harry. He's being fed all the time, fourth helpings, being told, no, you eat it. you know? And he is experiencing love, genuine love from his surrogate family. Like, imagine this is the longest time that he's spent at the burrow thus far that we know of, right? Like,
Well, it's his first time being there, though.
his first time being there. Like, literally, in well, when we get to book and movie, we'll talk a little bit more about like the fact that it was a flash in the pan in the book, in the movie. But in the book, he gets to be here for a whole week so far, and his surrogate dad, surrogate mom, surrogate tons of brothers and a sister. Well, let's not call it that, but they're all like just being there with him and experiencing magical life with him, everyday magical life, which is so cool. I wrote Mr. Muggle as in Papa Bear Weasley because he insists that Harry sits next to him at meals all the time and literally just discuss things like plugs and telephones and stuff, and tells him about how fascinating things are and like just loves everything. And then one day, and then also Ginny. I think we can all say that Ginny Cop feels. She's has her little like giddy, adorable crush going on, and so she's clumsy. She blushes. She can't stand to be in the room with Harry for more than 3 seconds. That kind of stuff. And while all that's happening, finally they get their Hogwarts letters. They're delivered, and lo and behold, Harry's letter is there too. Very exciting, right? And Percy comes down, and he's the one who makes the announcement about the letters. He's like, "Oh, look, we've all got our letters." Or is that how it was in the movie only? Percy comes down. Oh, yeah, no, they already have their letters. Mr. Weasley's passing them around. And then Percy comes down and sits down, and like this is like the first they see of Percy in hardly ever, because he's busy in his room doing something. And busy in his room doing something. We don't know what. So Percy sits down at the table, and before he sits, he does one of these like, "Whoa, what is under my butt?" And it's what he thought, or what Harry thought, to be a duster, but it's Errol.
Poor Errol.
Errol, their owl, and he's holding a letter from Hermione. Yay! So they talk about the letter from Hermione, and Hermione is so Hermione. She's like, "I'm so busy with schoolwork." It's summer, child. Just
it matters not.
Yeah. She's on vacation, mind you. Okay. Her family is on vacation, and she's talking about how she's so busy with schoolwork. It's ridiculous. And then she talked about how they should meet up for a trip to Diagon Alley to go get their class stuff, their New Year school books, and whatever else wizards need for a new school year. Hold on a second. Mom, do you want to get down or do you want to get up higher? Okay. I mean fluffy. Sorry.
Can we talk about how their book lists, when they read their letters, is the Standard Book of Spells, grade 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books by Gilderoy Lockhart.
7 books by this one person. Yep.
And Fred's like, "You guys have all of Lockhart's books too?" And he's like, "The new defense against the dark arts teacher must be a witch."
Why does he say that?
Because, of course, they fancy Gilderoy Lockhart just like Mom does, remember?
exactly. In the last chapter, if you guys were with us, Mrs. Weasley has his like home cleaning hack books.
And how pests. She was looking in some kind of pest book, remember, for the denoming of the garden.
Pest control. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and she loves it. Like Ron was like, oh yeah, mom fancies him, right? Yeah, so then they're like, well, we've got like a day left before Wednesday. What do we do? Let's go play Quidditch. Yay, we're going to go be normal wizard youth. So they all take their brooms out, Harry with his Nimbus 2000 and whatever, and Ron with his poor little shooting star. And there's no mention of what kind of brooms the what clean sweeps.
No, it doesn't tell, but Ron's old shooting star was often outstripped by passing butterflies.
Yeah.
Just to let you know how sad Ron's little shooting star is.
Yep. Exactly. And then, so they go play. So, like, the Weasleys apparently own a little paddock nearby. And it's kind of, surrounded by trees. And if they can stick real low, then, there's no worry of muggle sightings or anything in the town nearby. But they can't play with real balls because they're scared of, like, what if the ball gets away? So they play with apples. They throw apples at each other. Hilarious. All right, so then they come back.
But at least they get to fly and play, which Harry couldn't even touch his broomstick at Privet Drive, so...
No, it was locked away in a closet.
Yep.
So they're playing their game, they're chit-chatting, and they're talking about owls and how Percy got 12 OWLs. And they're like, Harry's like, OWLs? What are owls? And they're like, oh, okay. So when you get to a certain age, you have to take OWLs, the ordinary wizarding level examinations. And
if you live in the U.S., think standardized tests that you have to take at certain grade levels to assess your, So they're like assessment tests.
Competence. Yep. Yeah, but way cooler because you get to do magic in them.
Yeah. And then if you pass them, that's an OWL that you get because they're done by subjects. So you would do one for potions, you would do one for spells, you would do or charms. So yeah.
And you do them in your what? Sixth
I think it's fifth year. I think it's at the end of the fifth year. The end of the fifth year.
So Percy gets 12. Bill gets 12. And then the boys, of course, are like, okay, we got to be careful here because we're going to have another head boy in the family. And that's just too embarrassing. So Fred and George are completely anti the whole, like, teacher's pet, ultra high achieving type situation, right? And they're telling us now with that Bill was head boy, and you are head boy when you're in 7th year. It's like being the top of the whole school because there's only one head boy and one head girl, not per house. Like there are prefects, which Percy is a prefect. Prefects are the leaders of their house. So boy and a girl for Gryffindor, a boy and a girl for Ravenclaw, a boy and a girl for Slytherin, and a boy and a girl for Hufflepuff. But head boy, there's only one head boy and one head girl for the whole school. So they're the tippity.
And usually it's somebody who's been a prefect previously.
And Bill Weasley was head boy, which is, that says a lot about the Weasley family in general, okay? Yeah, for sure. So this is when they tell us a little bit more about Bill and Charlie. So Bill happens to be we don't know what his exact job title is. We just know that he works for Gringotts Bank, the Wizarding Bank, and that he's in Egypt. So that's what we know. And then we know that Charlie happens to be studying dragons in Romania, which, wow.
And we did know this because that's how we found out about Charlie in book 1 when Charlie's friends came and picked up the dragon to take to Charlie in Romania.
Yep. Well, they mention it again here in this chapter as well.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, we had discussed that once before, but we hadn't talked about Bill or what he did. And actually, it's not, like you said, it's not a lot of detail. Just that he worked for Gringotts.
Later on, I think, later on we'll find out more. But we don't really need to know that much because they're kind of secondary characters in the Weasley family anyway. But then it's time to go to Diagon Alley. Oh, not yet. So Mrs. Weasley, okay, here's the crazy part for me. They're getting ready to go. And this woman makes half a dozen bacon sandwiches for each person. Christina McCrae, can you do the math? How much math is that?
So half a dozen each. Let's see, 6 times Harry, Percy, Ron. I'm guessing Ginny didn't eat half a dozen bacon sandwiches, but maybe she did.
For number purposes, let's just counter it.
Fred, George, Ron, Harry, Ginny, and Percy. That's 36 bacon sandwiches. And that's not including mom and dad. So she was baconing it up in that morning before they went.
Uh-huh. Now, I'm assuming here, this is just an assumption, but I'm assuming here that we just take our little wand and that we just fry up. And then at that point have cooked bacon, crispy, the way that we like it.
She has to, because bacon takes a little time to cook, and then to make 36 sandwiches, and you're not putting one strip of bacon on each sandwich, so
no, because that family eats. If that's one thing they do know how to do. She knows how to cook because they know how to eat. Like,
also, it says after a quick half a dozen bacon sandwiches each. So quick. It has to be some wand work going on, because that's the only way 36 bacon sandwiches is going to be quick. That was a quick breakfast for the day they're going out.
I want magic just for cooking. My goodness. Man. That's exciting. Okay.
I would really be fat then.
They're all gathered around the chimney, the fireplace. Why? Because they are traveling by flu powder. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to get influenza or anything like that.
No, it's flu, FLOO.
That's right. So what does that mean in the magical world?
So you take a pinch of some powder, which the Weasleys happen to keep on the mantelpiece by the fireplace in a flower pot, because she mentions that they're low and they'll have to pick some up while they're out today. But you take a pinch of powder and you throw it in the fireplace, and then green flames come up, and you stand in the green flames and say where you want to go. And you have to make sure you say it clearly, and we'll figure out why in just a minute. And then you appear in the fireplace of your location, your destination location.
Yep.
Flu Network.
Yep, that's the Flu Network. And many, many fireplaces are connected to the Flu Network. That's why it's called a network. So whatever place is connected to the Flu Network, you can go there, buy your little pinch of magic powder, and what you do is you step into the fireplace. So you throw your little pinch of shenanigans of powder down. Green flames appear. You step in and you say where you want to go, and poof,
I just realized how big their fireplaces must be for people, fully grown wizards, to stand in the fireplace to go somewhere and arrive in a fireplace somewhere else. So I'm just realizing how tall their fireplaces have to be.
Yeah. Yeah. The ones that they have at the studio tour, they are walking.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. So then I absolutely love this. So they're like, Harry's never traveled by Floo powder before. He's like, what? Like, okay, I'm not understanding this. So then they explain it to him, and Fred and George are like, look, dude, we'll go first and watch what we do, and then you can go. So Fred goes first, then George goes, and then Arthur goes next, and then everybody's trying to give him pointers the whole time. They're like, okay, keep your elbows tucked in, keep your eyes closed, and then but look out for where you're going, because you don't want to miss it and miss it. Like, he's getting anxious, right? Like, this is anxiety inducing when people tell you like so many things to keep note of. Do you want to get down? Because it's raining. Here, why don't you get down? It's raining. Sorry, guys. Fluffy's got to go. Fluffy, get down, Fluffy. Okay, you go lay with the other dog over there. I don't know what to call her. Okay, so
they're both Fluffy because Fluffy has 3 heads. So
yeah, but okay. Here's number 3.
There you go. See.
Wait, you don't want
it's all Fluffy. Everybody's Fluffy today.
All right. Hold on, guys. He didn't wanting it down. Oh no. My facade. Come on. I said, oh no, my facade. All right. He's a little bit
Wait. That's not a real beard.
Ah, it is. I groom it daily. Can't you tell?
Oh yes, it's very kempt.
Yeah. Indeed it is.
You should have like slicked it down with some oil like Hagrid when he gets all dressed up. He doesn't comb it or anything. He just slicks some oil in it.
I love that.
You guys will learn more about that later. Anyway, all right. So we're giving Harry all kinds of travel anxiety at the Floo Network.
Yes, and one of the most hilarious things before Arthur Weasley goes, when Harry says, I've never traveled by Floo powder before, he's like, how did you get to Diagon Alley the first time? And he goes, I went, on the underground, like normal humans, normal muggles at least. And then Arthur is like, oh, really? Were there escalators?
Escalators.
And then Molly being Molly and being so used to his shenanigans, she's like, dude, not now. Not now. We're not getting carried away with muggleness right now, okay?
We're one by one stepping into the fireplace. Can we get a move on here? We got a queue in our own damn kitchen.
Oh my gosh. How ADHD do you think that house is? Like, with so many people.
Dude. That's why Molly is the way she is. She's trying to keep everything organized and keep track of everybody.
She's just trying to keep the zoo under control.
She's just trying to make sure she doesn't lose anybody.
Exactly. So then Arthur goes, Harry is full of, he's anxiety ridden with all the directions as to what to do and how to do it and not to fidget too much. And so he throws his pinch in, he gets in, and he's like, Diagon, he says, what does he say? Diagon Alley. So, obviously.
Which is not saying it clearly as he was instructed to do.
Okay, you say it clearly. I'll say what Harry says.
Diagon Alley.
Diagon Alley. Those are not
so then it's no wonder what happens next is what happens next.
So Harry shoots out into this like dark kind of, he can tell that it's a wizard place, right? He's not in the muggle world. He can tell that it's a wizard place because it's dark. It's like the stuff that's on display. He can tell he's in a shop. It's all kind of not good.
You're not in Kansas anymore, Harry. Clearly we're not in Kansas anymore.
I better try to sneak out of here before anybody finds me out. And as he's trying to make his way out, he sees Malfoy and Lucius Malfoy and Draco Malfoy coming into the shop, and he's like, quick, run, hide. And he sees a cabinet. And he's like, let me hide in this cabinet real quick. So he doesn't close the door entirely. He leaves it just a little cracked open so he can see and hear what's going on. And Mr. Borgin, which, it's we find in this place, Lucius is like, hello, Mr. Borgin. Mr. Borgin's like, Mr. Malfoy. Hello. And young Mr. Malfoy. Wonderful to see you guys. Are you looking for anything special? Because I've got some new stuff to show you. And he's like, no, I'm selling. He's like, selling? And Lucius goes on to tell him that he's selling because there are some government raids. Government raids. If you were with us 2 weeks ago, we discussed government raids. Why did we discuss this, Christina?
Because Arthur and his department at the Ministry of Magic are in charge of those government raids as the misuse of Muggle artifacts department. They are confiscating things that look like normal Muggle things but have magical properties. And so they're also collecting certain dark arts artifacts as well. You don't want to get caught.
They're also looking to see if you're packing, right? Like if you've got this naughty stuff at your house, like illegal things at your house, things that are illegal because there are illegal things in the Muggle in the magic world, right? So he's like, here's my list of stuff. Please take a look at it. And I need you to come and pick this all up discreetly and get rid of it for me. And in the meantime, Draco's like, ooh, look at this cool hand. It's something called the Hand of Glory. It's sitting on a cushion. And Borgin is like, oh, your son has good taste. It gives light only to the holder. And what did he say? Who likes it? Like miscreants or like.
Let's see. He says, can I have that? The Hand of Glory. Insert a candle and it gives light only to the holder. Best thieves friend of thieves and plunderers.
Yeah.
Your son has fine taste, sir.
And then Lucius goes, I hope that my son aspires to more than being a thief or plunderer. Which, I mean, good line.
Fair. Fair.
So then, okay, they handle all their business. He's going to pick it up tomorrow, and then they leave, and Harry's like, okay, great, now's my chance. So he walks out, and like, he comes to find out that he is in a not so good place. It's like a dodgy alleyway. He sees a sign, it says Nocturne Alley, and he's like, how do I get out of here? And lo and behold, there's Hagrid. And he sees Gringotts. And he's like, oh, thank goodness. So then Hagrid's like, dude, what is wrong with you? Because he's dirty. His glasses are broken. He looks all disheveled. And
well, wait. You mentioned in the new characters the witch with all the fingernails. And he meets that witch before he sees Hagrid.
Yeah, because she's trying to bring him over to the dark side. She's like,
when he comes out, there's all these shady characters hanging out outside. And he's like, where am I?
Yeah. So he's got to try to book it because the shadiness is just, it's a lot. There are people everywhere, and they're literally trying to take him over to the dark side, like every person that he comes across. So he's finally able to get out of there.
And he also finds out when he comes out of the store what the name of the store is that he was in.
Oh, yes.
Borgin and Burke's.
Which is why the guy's name is Mr. Borgin. Obviously, that's his store, along with, I'm assuming, some Burke person. Yeah. So there they are. And then finally, they see Hermione. And
Sorry, I interrupted you. Hagrid found him and then...
oh no, what I wanted to say, because I thought this was very interesting that I skipped over a bit, is in the store, some of the conversation that was had between Lucius and Draco and Mr. Borgin, well, actually mostly between Lucius and Malfoy and Draco, was like his obvious distaste of Harry and Hermione, especially Hermione. And Lucius is like, dude, I can't believe that you're allowing yourself to be beaten at exams by a Muggle-born. Like, because they were also talking with Mr. Borgin about bloodlines and about how certain people in the wizarding world, just like in the ridiculous...
Well, the way the conversation came around was after Mr. Malfoy got all offended about my kid's going to be a thief, then he turns to Draco and says, though, if you don't get your grades up, that might be all you're fit for. And that's when he's like, it's not my fault. Hermione Granger is all the teacher's favorites and blah, 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 blah. And so that's how they move into that conversation.
Yeah, ridiculous. So like, and then they also, besides the Hand of Glory, there's like an opal cursed necklace. There's all kinds of just really evil trinkets there. Okay. Yeah. And then finally, so they go outside.
They don't talk very much about it, but when he walks out, he notices that the store across the way has shrunken heads in the window.
Yes. And he also says that Borgin and Burke seems to be the biggest store out of all of the shady stores in Nocturne Alley. So it's quite prominent, right? It's if it's the biggest one, that's going to have the most power potentially. So then he gets out of there eventually. He meets up with Hagrid, and then takes Harry to Hermione back to like the good area. But like Hagrid's telling him about how that's just a really bad place to be, and you don't want to be caught there. So don't ever go there again, Harry. And Harry's like, I wasn't trying to... Wait a minute. How come you were there? You're telling me not to be there. What's going on? He's like, oh, I was just getting some flesh-eating slug repellent for school. So relax, right?
Because they're ruining the school cabbages.
Yep. Can't have that. We got to eat. So Then they meet up with Hermione finally. And then they're like, okay, we have to go meet up with everybody else. So finally, Mrs. Weasley's there. They meet up with everybody else. And here we meet Hermione's parents. They are lucky, lucky duckies. And I wish I was like them because they are muggles. However, they're at Diagon Alley because they spawned a witch daughter. Cool, right?
Which is how they all end up meeting at Gringotts, because Hermione's parents are exchanging muggle money for magic money, and Harry and the Weasleys need to go to their vault.
Money?
Huh?
Do you think that Harry exchanges money?
No. Because if you remember, he never had any money in the Muggle world.
I know, but like secretly, if he wants to buy an ice cream or something.
I mean, maybe on the way out afterwards, like...
I keep eating my hair.
No, because then they come back to... I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Like, it almost feels like Harry doesn't know that that's an option. The way that it's written in the book, it's like...
Yeah, because he never has any money in the Muggle world, but if he can exchange, he could exchange some of the money that he has in the Wizard world so that he would have some to take back to the Muggle world. But I don't know that he thinks about it. He just grabs a bag full of wizard money when he gets there every year.
Yeah. Okay. So they so the Grangers are exchanging money for Hermione. And then they go to the Weasley's family vault, which I don't understand why Harry is there. And I don't understand why the Weasleys are at Harry's vault, because the way that regular banks work, you can't see what I have and I can't see what you have, but these people are all there.
Well, I mean, they have to take the cart down into the depths, so maybe it's easier to take them all together in the same cart.
I can't see that policy-wise, that this would be allowed. Maybe because they know Harry is Harry. He's famous.
I mean, I don't know, because when he went with Hagrid, they went to two different vaults. They went to the vault that Hagrid grabbed the grubby little package from, and then went to Harry's vault. So I don't know. That is interesting.
Okay.
Not a lot of privacy happening there.
Dear Ministry of Magic, please contact me regarding your security policies that you
or privacy. Because I think the security is good, but the privacy not so much.
Yeah, we've got to revisit that. All right, so they go to the Weasley's vault first, and goodness, do you want to cry? It says that it's got a few sickles and a single galleon, and that Mrs. Weasley is literally scraping the corners. Now, in my mind, if she puts her hand in and she's scraping the corners, this vault is small.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when we know of Harry's vault, it's vast, right? When later in life, when we get to know of other vaults and other books and stuff in the future, like there are sizable vaults. This is like an at-home little tiny box of a thing.
So they would be like the Muggle equivalent of kind of living paycheck to paycheck and putting a little in the savings here and there, which is what would go into the vault, I think.
But they're literally scraping out their savings. So they're living paycheck to paycheck and they have no savings.
Yeah.
Right? At all, because that was their savings, and they are, before the school year begins, they're cleaning it out. So while their kids are out at school, they got to try their best to just put it away.
Well, and they probably do. They probably save a lot of money while all those damn kids are at school. Because 36 bacon sandwiches becomes mom and dad just having to feed themselves.
I have a question. Is wizard school free?
They never say anything about tuition to go to Hogwarts.
So
they never say anything about tuition.
Who pays? The government?
I guess. I mean, the Ministry of Magic oversees it. You're like, they know who you are before you ever, like, they contact you. Okay, you're coming to Hogwarts. Like, they know. So I think it is subsidized. Yeah.
Okay. That's
and then I think that's probably how the Weasleys do their savings, because once they send the kids off and they're gone all that time, they only have to worry about feeding them at the Christmas holiday and then the summer holidays, and then send them back to school where they're getting fed there.
Oh, don't forget, like, the spring holiday. There's one there too, right?
I was trying to remember if there was a spring holiday as well.
Yeah, there's like an Easter holiday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we don't hear much of it. I think they skip over it sometimes.
Yeah. But I would guess, now that we're thinking about it clearly, that their savings comes from when the kids are gone. They're putting that money away so that the following summer, when it's time to buy books and robes and all of that stuff, they have some money put away because they didn't have to feed them for some months.
And this
half a dozen bacon sandwiches for breakfast.
Exactly.
I'm just going to keep going back to that because that's crazy.
This will be the first time that the Weasleys are home alone.
Because Ginny's going for her first year. Yeah.
Exactly. But
now, even still, last year when Ginny was there, they only had to feed Ginny as opposed to the 6 boys. Well, the 2 that have moved out now, but...
Yeah. But also, they have to pay for Percy, Fred, George, Ron, and Ginny's all their books, all of their school supplies, all of their robes, if they need robes, if they're growing out of them or whatever, right? Like,
which is why sometimes they shop secondhand and things like that, because they're a big family.
Yeah, but they do the hand-me-down thing, all that stuff.
I would imagine they kind of live paycheck to paycheck until the kids are gone to school, and then that's where they sock away money for when the kids are going to be home later.
Definitely. So after the very sad observation at the Weasley vault, they head over to the Potter vault, and poor Harry. I bet you he wished he had my coat.
Man.
So he can, like, extend it, and he's trying to make himself look big, trying to cover the hole. Like, please don't look at the fact that I am swimming in galleons. Okay? He is.
And not that he wouldn't just give them handfuls of it, but they wouldn't take it. And he knows that.
Which is why we're going to come to something in this chapter that I absolutely adore. That Harry is just Harry. Like, he really, like, he appreciates the Weasleys so much, and he loves them so much more than, because he's never expressed it before. He doesn't know how to really express it or deal with those feelings other than the fact that he knows them. We'll discuss it in a bit. So they do the Gringotts thing, and then after, they're like, you know what? I need to take the Grangers. Arthur Weasley's like, I need to take the Grangers for a drink. Okay? This is happening. I gotta go. We gotta talk. And then everybody, Fred and George, are like, we're gonna go hang out. We're going to go find Lee Jordan. And Percy's like, I have things to do. And the Golden Trio is like, oh, well, yeah, we can do stuff. And Molly Weasley looks at the twins and she's like, not a foot in Knockturn Alley. Yeah, we know. Broken record. So everybody goes and does their own thing for a while. And how adorable. They all go. Harry buys everybody, well, the golden trio, some ice cream, some strawberry and peanut butter ice cream. How come that sounds delicious? Like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I was just going to say, because it sounds like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I want that. I want that so bad. Then they're like, okay, it's time to go. They meet up with Percy because they went to Flourish and Blotts, which is where like they were all going to meet up or whatever. And Percy is there. And Percy the prefect is deep into a book. I think that, what was the title? Like Prefects and Their Future Careers or something like that. How they...
Prefects Who Gained Power.
Yeah, that's the
study of Hogwarts prefects and their later careers.
Yeah. Because we come to find out that Percy wants to be the minister for magic. He wants the tippity top job.
Percy's got ambitions.
Yeah, which obviously means that he's going to want that head boy role, and Fred and George are going to be sad. So they're there and at Flourish and Blotts, and there is a signing, a book signing by Mr. Gilderoy Lockhart, the book author himself of the 7 tomes that everybody has to buy. All Hogwarts students have to buy. Can you imagine how cool is that to get yourself 7 books per student? That's got to make your publisher happy. That's a deal.
And that's not even why he's there doing the signing. He's just released a new book, his autobiography, Magical Me. So the people who are there to buy his autobiography, plus every Hogwarts student buying 7 of his books each.
Jeez. So they're all waiting in line, and they're there, and this tiny little Daily Prophet reporter is kind of pushing through and bumps Ron, and he's like, "Move, get out of the way. This is for the Daily Prophet. We got to take pictures of Gilderoy Lockhart." And he's like, "Who cares? Big deal, right?" And I guess he took offense a little bit, and he looks at Ron, and he looks, and he's like, "Harry Potter standing next to Ron." And he's like, Harry Potter. And of course, Gilderoy Lockhart's like, "Well, we have to." What?
That's the movie.
What?
In the book, when Ron says "big deal," Gilderoy Lockhart hears him, and he looks up and he sees Harry.
No, the reporter. Both.
No. In the movie, it's the reporter who sees him and grabs him and puts him up there. But in the book, it's Lockhart who sees him.
Okay. But...
yeah. He says, "Big deal," said Ron, rubbing his foot where the photographer had stepped on it. Yeah. Gilderoy Lockhart heard him. He looked up. He saw Ron, and then he saw Harry, and he stared.
Why did I just skip over the fact that it was Gilderoy Lockhart and not the reporter?
Because you're remembering the movie. Because in the movie, the reporter...
No. Literally, those were my thoughts of the book.
Oh.
Literally. Okay.
He stared, then he leapt to his feet and positively shouted.
There you go.
Harry Potter!
Yes! So, they decide that they're going to take pictures, right?
Well, Harry didn't decide. He was just kind of pulled into it, but...
Gilderoy decided, right? He's like, "Oh, this is going to be perfect. This is going to be huge."
Yeah. Us together is front page news.
Yeah. You got to have that publicity. And at this point in time, Harry's like, had enough. But Gilderoy Lockhart has to continue to be Gilderoy Lockhart and take all the limelight. But he knows that with Harry, he's going to be, front page news, like you said. And he's like, okay, guys, Harry didn't know that when he was coming here to buy my book, like Harry was there to buy.
I mean, he kind of was. He was there to buy 7 books.
Buy the book, right? You're making him buy the book. He has to buy it. And then Gilderoy's like, he didn't know that he was going to run into me when he was here. And he especially didn't know that he was going to walk away with all of my works, my collected works, free of charge. Yay! And everybody's so happy. And then Harry's just trying to get out of the limelight because Harry, opposite from Gilderoy Lockhart, hates the limelight. And he's like, no. So he's walking away and he looks at Ginny and he's like, oh my gosh. And he goes, here, you take these. And that's the moment I was talking about. Like, okay, he knows it's just raining, buddy. It's okay.
Aww.
Yeah. So he knows that this will help, even just a little bit, right? That it would help the Weasleys and that he can afford to get his own books anyway. So that's what he's going to do, which is great. I love that. Now, at this point in time, Gilderoy Lockhart decides to make a very special announcement. He goes,
it's the perfect time.
Yeah. While I've got you all here, my captive audience, let me tell you, I am the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. Okay, so now we know why all Hogwarts kids have to buy 7 Gilderoy Lockhart books. Right? Because he's the new teacher. So Ron was wrong about the new teacher being a woman. He just, Lockhart just loves himself so much and wants to make those royalties that he is making everyone buy the books.
Nobody loves themselves as much as Gilderoy Lockhart.
Nobody.
Mark my words.
Nobody.
Mark my words.
Yep. So now something really interesting happens where there are a lot of people in there. Everybody's just trying to get out, right? And there's Draco. And he's like, oh, Harry, how are you? But in Draco way, right?
Wait, what?
In the most Draco way possible. Like, oh, I bet you loved that, right? Like, look at you, just trying to get the line. And then,
Harry Potter.
yeah. And then Ginny's like, leave him alone. And of course, Draco's like, oh, is that your girlfriend, Harry Potter? And then, okay, here comes Lucius and Arthur. How come these 2 grown men start throwing down in the bookstore? Lots of things are said, right? About jobs and raids and company that they keep, because obviously Lucius Malfoy sees Arthur with the Grangers, and he's like, dude, you're keeping Muggle company? That's not what us pure blood, because mind you, the Weasleys are pure bloods, right? Pure bloods. And so this to Lucius because of the history of the Weasley family, to Lucius is like unfathomable for him to think like, you're gonna sully your family name basically by having these connections. But the cool thing is like, the Weasleys don't care. Arthur Weasley loves telephones and plugs. I love that. And so Arthur Weasley, what does Arthur Weasley do? Tell me. Go for it.
So Lucius says that Arthur is a disgrace to the name of wizard. And Arthur says, we have a very different idea of what disgraces the name of wizard. Mm-hmm. And Malfoy's like, yeah, clearly, because of the company you keep. And then Lucius says, and I thought your family could sink no lower. Dirty. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose because now Mr. Weasley and Lucius Malfoy are fighting in the bookshop.
Mr. Weasley threw a book at Mr. Malfoy and hit him in the eye.
Wait, there was a thud of metal as Ginny's cauldron went flying. Mr. Weasley had thrown himself at Mr. Malfoy, knocking him backwards into a bookshelf.
Mm-hmm. And Arthur comes up with like a bloody lip. There was a throwdown. And then Hagrid had to, because like Fred and George, of course, are instigating, and they're like, get him, Dad!
And Molly's like, no! Arthur, no!
Oh, God, that's great.
And the assistant's like, gentlemen, please.
Oh, no, the best part, Mrs. Weasley was like, oh my God, what is Gilderoy Lockhart going to think? I can't believe it.
Oh, God.
And then they go, no, Gilderoy Lockhart was like, oh my God, do you think the fight will be able to make it into the papers? Because publicity. Yes, ma'am. Would you like to come up here as well?
And as per usual, Hagrid has to save the day. So Hagrid comes in and kind of lifts them up and apart from each other.
Yeah, exactly. Hagrid has to come in, break the fight apart. Okay. Break the fight apart. And then everybody has to go on their merry way. No, you have to stay here with Mama, okay? And then everybody has to, it's time to go home. They walk the Grangers back to...
The Grangers are shaking. They're completely freaked out at this point. They're terrified.
Yeah. So...
And Molly's furious.
Is that it was such a muggle fight, right? Like
nobody pulled out their wands.
Yeah. There's no wands. It was literally just like fist fighting, basically.
Just two grown men scuffling in the bookstore.
Yeah. I love it. So they walk the Rangers back to the Leaky Cauldron, and they're like, okay. As they're walking back, Arthur's still being Arthur, and he's like, how do bus stops work? I absolutely love his ridiculous questions about muggles. I mean, I know they're not ridiculous to him, but hilarious, right? And then, of course, they have to go back by Flu Network again. And Harry, the chapter ends with Harry just being like, yeah, this is not the business. This is not it.
Not the way to travel.
Yeah.
I don't like this so much.
Yep.
But at least this time he thinks ahead. So he takes his glasses off and puts them in his pocket.
Yeah. And I would imagine it's much easier the second time around, right?
Probably. Usually things are, the first time you don't know what to expect. The next time, at least you've done it before.
Yep.